If gaming destroys your attention span, like it did to mine, then you probably can't even watch this entire video without getting distracted by something else on the side recommendation bar, or by the comments, or by another tab, or by something else. But if you stick with me in this video and listen to what I have to say, I'm going to show you the effect that gaming had on my own attention span and how I fixed that. The first thing I had to do was to realize how valuable my attention was, my own individual attention. I had to realize the power behind that. So, the video games and the books that we have in the modern day, this is like early to mid 2020s, right? I'm filming this in like early 2025, but the books and the movies and the films and the other forms of media that we get today, they're a lot more stimulating than they were in the past, right? If you look at the evolution of movies or video games, they become more and more stimulating, right? Video games become more graphically enhanced, they become more fun. Movies, the shot length kind of decreases. I saw this one study where the shot length of movies had actually decreased from about 7 seconds to about 2 seconds. So that's like a very big gap, right? And that shows just how much more stimulating all of the media that we consume nowadays has become, to the point where it's unnatural, to the point where it's hijacking our brain to kind of see passively consuming these different forms of media, especially video games, as productive, as something rewarding. And why would people produce this? Well, people would produce this to make a profit off of us, basically. Now, you might have heard this before, but corporations are basically vying for your attention, because the more attention that you pay to their product, that is a movie or a video game, but specifically a video game, right? The more stimulating Epic Games makes their games, like Fortnite, for example, the more stimulating they make that game, the more rewarding they make it to play it, then the more you're going to be addicted to it, and then the more money they're going to make off of you by buying new skins, microtransactions, that kind of stuff. So what we see right now is kind of this economy where your attention is worth very, very much to every single media corporation out there, and they're basically all vying for your attention. Now, what does this have to do with video games? Well, basically, every single video game out there that's being produced and developed and updated today, they're all seeking your attention. They're all seeking your devotion to them as a loyal fan, because you can't get enough of that dopamine hit that is their game. So basically, they want you to be their attention servant. They want you to become addicted to their product so they can profit off of you. Now, there's nothing illegal about that. It might be unethical, but there's nothing illegal about it, so they're allowed to get away with it. By the way, if you're interested in getting even more help with quitting your gaming addiction for good, you can check out my course. Link to it is in the description. I go through in detail how I beat video games in 2 weeks, and I can guarantee that it'll get you the same result as well. But what you can do about it is you first have to realize your inability to really do anything besides game when you're in this constant cycle of dopamine. So, based off of my experience, I found that I couldn't read like a single paragraph. I couldn't watch a single documentary without feeling that what I was watching was just kind of boring, without getting distracted by something within like 10 minutes of starting to watch the documentary or the older movie or trying to read this information heavy book. I'd always get distracted by something else. I couldn't devote my focus to anything that wasn't as stimulating as video games. So, yeah, I was just a complete wreck as a gamer because I couldn't read a single paragraph for comprehension without getting distracted by something. And what I had to do was I then had to realize just how valuable my time and attention was as an individual. Now, I want you kind of to partake in this thought experiment with me, right? There's only a certain amount of years that you're going to live, right? And for every single one of those years, they're split into days, which are split into hours, which are split into minutes, which are split into seconds. And every single one of those seconds, your attention is going to be somewhere, right? As long as you're not sleeping, your attention is going to be on something for every waking hour of your life. And you have a limited amount of focus a limited amount of attention time to devote to different things throughout your life, right? Now, the game here is to make sure that you devote your attention to the most worthy things for every second of your life. Now, that may sound unrealistic, but I want you to think about how much time gaming actually takes up within your waking hours of attention, right? Think about how much of your attention gaming takes up every single day. Maybe it's an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. On the average day, how much of your time is gaming taking up? On the average weekend, how much hours of your attention is gaming taking up? So my point here is that you have a limited amount of attention throughout your life, like I already said, but if all of that time and attention and focus is going towards video games, then you're not really getting a return on those hours unless you become a professional esports player or start streaming or do something like that, which that market, it seems, is already pretty swamped, and it's pretty tough to get into that kind of stuff, especially if you have no connections in those industries. So if you have higher ambitions, if you have a higher plan for your life than just playing video games all the time, then it's probably in your best interest to realize that this doom scrolling and these 10-hour gaming sessions that you're doing are basically the result of you being a product of gaming. You are the product when it comes to gaming. That's the meta in today's corporate space for producing media, is, like I said, they want you to become addicted to their product. So when you spend 10 hours a day gaming, nobody's happier but Epic Games, Valve Games, Blizzard, whatever. These giant corporations that want you to play their game so that they can profit off of you. Now, the best way to escape this cycle of constant gaming, if you don't want to waste your life, because believe me, if you do nothing about your gaming addiction, nothing will improve about your gaming addiction. I struggled with gaming addiction for years because I couldn't take the time to kind of step back from my addiction, not try and justify anything that I was doing, and just try and tally up the hours and the days and the years that had gone by when I was just gaming. I gamed most of my early youth away in quarantine. And maybe you have a similar experience, but you have to realize that you won't just wake up one day and be free from video games. That console, that PC, that RPG game that you were playing, that MMO, that shooter that you're constantly trying to compete and level up in, that will always call back to you unless you do something about it. And in this next part of the video, I'm going to explain just how to combat that. So, the most effective thing I did to lower my gaming time and to increase my focus was to just stop gaming. Now, that might be a painful thing, but if you've realized, like I explained in the earlier part of the video, how much time and attention and focus gaming is taking up in your life and how much time it's wasting, and you're ready to make the jump to try and quit video games, then the rest of this video is for you. And if not, you can click off. But if I didn't reduce the amount of time I spent playing addictive games down to zero, then any other good habit I tried to do simply wouldn't work. So what are these good habits? Well, you have to realize again that these good habits, they're things that are much easier to do if you're not playing video games at all. And they're going to be a lot more painful to do. They're going to be a lot more boring, a lot more painful, and a lot more straining for yourself if you're not quitting video games already. If you're not already trying to lower your dopamine, you're trying to increase your reward system to work in real life, in reality, instead of just behind a screen in video games. So that being said, the first habit that I like to talk about is meditation. Now, meditation requires the most amount of attention and presence and focus. And odds are, if you're a gamer right now, you've never tried it, and you probably never will if you don't do anything about it. But meditation is basically just this practice of focus, of attention. It's where you just kind of sit on the floor and set a timer for yourself, and you just kind of focus on breathing in and out, like really slowly. And then as your mind wanders away from the breath, you just return it to focusing on your breathing, to focus on that constant rhythm of just kind of breathing in and out. And that's all you focus on. You basically just empty your mind. And if another thought pops up, you just come back to the breath. That's like the focal point of meditation, is constantly returning to the breath, returning to presence, that kind of stuff. And it's useful for training your presence. Well, that should seem obvious why it's useful for training your presence. But it is very, very, very useful for that if you can do it well. And I think that you can only do it well if you're A, playing less stimulating video games, or better, B, you're not playing video games at all. So next up we have journaling. Now, journaling is probably a good thing for you to start doing right now, because it lets you kind of write down your thoughts and realize what point you are in kind of this roadmap of life, right? If you think of your entire life as kind of like this roadmap, and all of your life up to this point is kind of like revealed in the map, right? But everything else beyond this is just kind of blurred off. You can kind of use journaling to realize where you are on that map, right? You can use journaling to kind of scope out what the rest of that map of your life is going to look like, especially the immediate future. So one very useful journaling prompt for this video might be, where will I be in maybe like 3 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, if I keep gaming? If I don't do anything about my gaming addiction, if I don't do anything about my gaming habits, then where will I be in, say, those different amount of times that keep on getting more and more throughout time? But let's say, as another prompt, what if I quit gaming this week, in 2 weeks? Let's say if I quit gaming in the next 2 weeks, then where will I be in 3 months? What can I get done? What can I improve about myself? What projects can I work on? How about in a year? What can I build in a year if I quit gaming from this point on and forever? What if I quit gaming and then 2 years pass? What will I be able to do? What skills can I learn? Who can I meet? Who can I become? What inner work can I do that will drastically improve the kind of person that I am? So yeah, those are 2 good prompts to think about right now. And a third one would be, why do I play video games in the first place? Why do I game in the first place? You gotta find your motivation behind gaming if you really do want to quit. Because if you find the reason why you game, maybe it's competition, you want to win at stuff, you want to get really good at this skill that is the game that you're playing, and you want to get status and competence from it. Or maybe you like the art, maybe you like the visuals of gaming. Maybe you're kind of an artsy person and you want to get into graphic design or like classical art, that kind of stuff. Maybe you like the storytelling. Maybe you're like a literary kind of person. You want to get into writing, storytelling, maybe like movie producing, that kind of stuff. You got to realize that there is this deep intrinsic part of you that motivates you to play video games in the first place. Maybe you're an explorer. You want to discover stuff. You want to go where no person has ever gone before. Once you realize what motivation you have behind gaming, then you can begin to capitalize on that motivation that you have, that kind of gift that you have for this certain thing, this calling that you have. You can begin to pursue that without playing video games. So for me, it was competition, right? It was getting really good at something and developing a skill and getting respect from it. So instead of gaming and like playing 10 hours of gaming per day and like getting sleep deprived because of it, but being really, really, really good at that one video game, I decided to lift weights instead. I decided to build a muscular physique. I decided to build an aesthetic body, and that's worked out really well for me. But the next habit up is reading. Now, reading is also going to be very boring if you're still gaming, right? I tried to read while I was a gamer, it just didn't work. But what reading does is it opens different doors for you, right? Like especially nonfiction. If you read fact-based books about something that you're interested in, then you can learn all kinds of different stuff that you never before would have thought was there. And last but not least is exercise. Now, this is a big one, and regardless of whether you're a gamer or not, you should at least aim to get maybe half an hour of moderately intense exercise per day. So this can be just like walking, or it can be jogging, or it can be running, or you can go to the gym and lift some weights like I do. Maybe it's calisthenics, maybe it's martial arts, maybe it's, yeah, pretty much anything that's going to break you a sweat, right? And this isn't only super healthy for you, but it also trains your mind, kind of like meditation does. It helps you be present. It helps you engage yourself in the real world and realize that discipline and focus in real life can yield infinitely more rewards than any gaming session ever could. So I think that's where I'm going to leave off this video. We're getting to about the 15-minute mark. So if you want to figure out how to quit video games more in depth, I'll put a video somewhere on the end screen here. So go ahead and subscribe if you like this video, and I'll see you later.